Today we're going to look at how we write equations in slope-intercept form. So every line, no matter what line it is, let's say we have this line here, right? That has an equation to go along with the line. This line also has an equation to go with the line, and both of them can be written in slope-intercept form. So we remember that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b is equal to the y-intercept. In general, there are three different ways that we can be given problems where the goal would eventually be to turn it into y equals mx plus b form. So the first type of problem is if we are given a slope and we are given the y-intercept. Now that might be within a line, or it might just be slope is this and y-intercept is this. The second situation would be if we have the slope and the second thing we have is 1 point. The third situation is if we have two different points. And the goal, no matter what we're trying to do here, is to turn this information into an equation of a line. We'll look at each of these three situations separately. So the first one is, what if we have a slope of something and a y-intercept of something? So for example, if the slope is 2/3 and the y-intercept is 6, what is the equation of the line? This problem is as easy as it seems, right? So we have y equals mx plus b, and all we need to do is fill in m and b. So y is equal to m is 2/3 and b is equal to 6. And we're done. That's it. The y, we want to leave it as y. The x, we want to leave as x. Those represents the infinite amount of points that we might have. So if you're given the slope and you're given the y-intercept, all you really need to do is fill it in. Within the same situation, we might have a graph, and while it's not explicit what the slope and the y-intercept are, we can find the slope and the y-intercept by looking at the graph. So in this case, our y-intercept is 2, and we can use these 2 points to figure out what our slope is. So if we go over 6, we have to go down 2. Our run is 6. Our rise is -2, which is a slope of -1/3. Once we have that, we again can just fill in the slope and the y-intercept appropriately for what we have. So y is equal to -1/3 x plus 2. Again, you'll see, right, that x and y remain variables. The only thing we're filling numbers in for are the slope and the y-intercept. The next kind of problem is if we know the slope of an equation and we know that it goes through 1 point. So you have to sort of imagine that if we know the slope of a line is 2/5 and that it goes through 10/2, we have a graph and we know the point. So there's a point. Let's call that 10/2. And then we know that this line will go through that point with a slope of 2/5. It is going to cross the y-axis someplace. We're just not quite sure where it is. So let's start with writing out the form that we want it to be in. We want it to be in y equals mx plus b. We know m, so we can go ahead and fill that in. We know that it's 2/5 times x plus b. What we don't know is we don't know the y-intercept. We don't know b. So this 10/2 must do something for us, right? Well, a point represents an x and it represents a y. So what we can do with that x and our y is we can take our x and we can fill it in for our x. We can take the y and fill it in for a y. So let's see what that looks like. We have y is equal to 2/5 times the 10 plus b. Once we have all these numbers in only one variable, we can solve to find the value of that variable. So we're going to go ahead and do the multiplication. We'll simplify because we simplify before we solve. And we have 2/5 of 10, which is 4. And we have b. Now we can solve for b by getting rid of the 4. And we find out that b is -2. So that means that this point here where it crosses the y-axis is -2. Now, for as great as that is, we cannot forget that what we're looking for is we're looking for an equation of a line. We don't have an equation of a line yet. So we have to go back. Here's our general form, y equals mx plus b. And we're going to insert into that what we found, which is y. Okay, our slope was 2/5. And then our b, we found out, was -2. Now we're done. We have a slope, we have a y-intercept. The last situation is if we have two different points. So if we look at the form y equals mx plus b, and you will notice that it keeps saying y equals mx plus b, because y equals mx plus b is pretty important, and you're going to need to remember that. So I'm going to keep saying y equals mx plus b. But if you look at y equals mx plus b, you don't have any of that information. We have 2 points. We do have an x and a y, but if we were to put those in, we really don't have anything else. We don't have an m. But if you remember, if we have 2 points, we can find the slope. Slope is the changes in the y's and the changes in the x's. So we can do 11 minus 3, which is the change in the y's, and we can do 6 minus 2, which is the changes in the x's. And we have 8 over 4, so our slope is 2. So let's look at what we have now. We have y equals 2x plus b. Okay, good. So now this looks familiar. We now have exactly what we had in the last problem. In problem 2, we have a slope, and then we're looking for a b, but we do have a point. In fact, we have 2 points. So the question might be, okay, if we're going to put an x and a y in for our x and our y, which one do we use? We're going to find out that it does not matter. Let's go ahead and y equals 2x plus b. Let's do 2 and 3 in here. So we'll do 3 is equal to 2 times 2 plus b. We'll go ahead and simplify that. Subtract. And b will equal -1. If somebody else decides to choose the 6 and 11, well, it's on the same line. So if it's on the same line, we better get the exact same answer. So we'll put the 11 in for y, and we'll put the 6 in for x. 11 is equal to 12 plus b. Good, so it's looking good. Subtract the 12, and b is equal to -1. Fabulous, right? So you don't need to do both points. You only need to choose one. But you do know that if you choose one, it won't be wrong. Don't forget, we're not finished, right? We need to go ahead and we need to actually put in our slope, and we have to put in our y-intercept to get the final answer. This is the equation of the line. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to do some practice problems. So here are the practice problems. I want you to pause the video now, write these down, and try these 3. I want you to find the slope-intercept form equation for each of these 3 problems. So pause it. Don't cheat. Stop. Come back when you're done. Great, you're back. Problem number 1, slope is -3. B is -7. We insert the -3 for M. We insert the -7 for B. Finished. Second problem. Slope is 1/5, and it goes through the point 4, 4. So we'll start with y is equal to mx plus b, and we'll go ahead and put the slope in. Now, we need to find what b is, but we can't do that without first using our point 4, 4. So we'll put 4 in for our x, and we will put 4 in for our y. 4 is equal to 1/5 of 4 plus b. We'll simplify it first. 1/5 times 4 is 4/5. Okay, now it's reasonable to go ahead and change 4/5 into a decimal. It's a terminating decimal, so that's perfectly reasonable, 0.8. We'll solve it, and we get 3.2 is equal to b. Don't forget, change it into y equals mx plus b. The slope we know is 1/5, and now our b is 3.2. Now if you used fractions, which if you did, I'm super happy about, you would have 3 and 1/5. Okay, last problem. 2860, we need y equals mx plus b. We have neither m nor b. Let's go ahead and start by finding the slope. I'm going to go in this direction. 8 minus 0 is equal, or excuse me, it's not equal to, but over 2 minus 6 is equal to m. So we have 8 over -4. Our slope is -2. Now let's go ahead and put that in. Y is equal to -2 times x plus b. Great. Now we can pick either of these 2 points here to put in for x and y. Because that has a 0, I don't know, it just seems like that's the one I should do. So I'm going to go 0 is equal to -2 times 6 plus b. Even though I picked 6, 0, you might have picked 2, 8, and that's fine. You should end up with the same answer. We'll add 12, and because it's 0, nice and easy. So b is 12. Final equation, y equals what? Our slope, -2, and then our y-intercept, 12. Nice job.